They say racism doesn't wear a hood anymore sometimes. It wears a uniform and a smirk. Tyrell Evans had no idea that a simple trip to the electronics store would turn into a public spectacle. But on that bright Saturday afternoon, in a clean-cut California suburb where people smiled a little too tightly and watched a little too closely, everything changed. Tyrell wasn't flashy. In fact, he was dressed as plainly as anyone else, joggers, a t-shirt, and sneakers. What set him apart that day wasn't what he wore, but who he was and what the officer didn't know. As he stepped out of the store, receipt still warm in his hand, a police cruiser pulled up so aggressively it made people flinch. Out jumped two officers. One older, white, and immediately hostile. The other younger, hesitant, clearly uncomfortable. On the hood, hands where I can see him, the older one barked. Tyrell blinked. "Sir, what's this about?" But the man didn't answer. Instead, he let out a sharp laugh, one of those cold, condescending laughs that says, "I've already decided who you are." With that, he grabbed Tyrell and slammed him against a patrol car. No questions, no explanation, just force. "You match the description," he sneered. "Dark clothes, black male, suspicious." Suspicious. That word again. Phones came out. Shoppers stopped and stared. But no one stepped in. No one ever did. Not when the man being humiliated didn't look like their son or their brother or their neighbor. The younger officer shifted uneasily. He looked like he wanted to say something, but didn't. Silence always speaks volumes. As the cuffs clicked around Tyrell's wrists, something slipped from his back pocket, a wallet, black and sturdy. And from that wallet, a badge glinted in the sun. Not a toy, not a replica, a real badge, a federal one. The older cop didn't notice at first. He was still riding the high of authority, still throwing out little jabs like, "Probably bought that laptop with a fake card, huh?" Tyrell didn't flinch. He simply said, steady and calm, "You just cuffed a federal agent." That's when the older officer finally looked down. The badge stared back at him. FBI, special agent. Everything stopped. His face drained of color. He reached down with trembling fingers, picked it up and muttered, This can't be real." Tyrell turned his head slowly, voice sharper now. "Do I look like I'm playing with you?" The officer stuttered. "Why didn't you say something?" And Tyrell said the line that would haunt that man for the rest of his career. "Because I wanted to see how far you'd go." The silence that followed was brutal. All you could hear were the phone still recording, the murmurs of disbelief, the heat of humiliation. The young officer finally stepped forward. "Sir, I think we need to call this in." But it was too late for damage control. Tyrell stepped back from the cruiser, rubbing his wrists, and reached into the passenger seat. From beneath the seat, he pulled out a body cam, their body cam hidden, but still recording. "You try to hide this?" Tyrell said, holding it up for the crowd. "Too bad your department streams everything to cloud storage. I know. I helped build the system." That crowd? They weren't just bystanders anymore. They were witnesses. Some were nodding. Some were crying. All were watching justice flip the script. Tyrell pulled out his phone. One tap, and he went live. "This is Special Agent Tyrell Evans," he said, looking directly into the camera. "Today I was unlawfully detained, harassed, and cuffed without cause by Officer Daniels of the El Monte Police Department. This video is being submitted to Internal Affairs and the Department of Justice." Officer Daniels couldn't even look him in the eye. The power dynamic had reversed so fast, it left him stunned, exposed. And just when people thought it couldn't go any further, Tyrell dropped one last bombshell. He turned to Daniels and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I know your name because this isn't my first report on you. There's already a file. This just made it thicker." And with that, Tyrell walked away. But he didn't walk off into the sunset. No, that's not how this ends. Because that night, the video went viral. 10 million views in 24 hours. National news. Civil rights leaders shared it. Politicians weighed in. Officer Daniels, placed on administrative leave. Internal Affairs, forced to launch an official investigation. But Tyrell sat quietly in his office, the badge still resting near his keyboard. He opened a new folder on his screen. The label read, Operation Blue Mask, Phase 1 complete. Because this wasn't just about him. It was about every kid who got slammed for walking home. Every father who got cuffed in front of his children. Every suspicious person who was just living their life. Tyrell had gotten inside the system. And now, he was going to clean it from the inside out. So if you think justice does exist, maybe you've just never seen it with the right badge. And this story? It's only just beginning. The screen flickered. Operation Blue Mask. Phase 1 complete. Tyrell leaned back in his chair, but there was no victory smile. The takedown of Officer Daniels wasn't the end, it was just a crack that exposed the rot beneath. Because the files Tyrell accessed after going public didn't just show misconduct, they revealed a pattern. A web of silence, a brotherhood of blue that didn't just look away, it protected itself at all costs. Officer Daniels had a history for excessive force complaints in 5 years, all mysteriously dismissed. The signatures approving those dismissals, the same names, over and over again. Internal Affairs, the chief, a local judge. This wasn't random, it was a cover-up. So Tyrell made a choice. He went deeper. Not with subpoenas, not with headlines, but undercover. He changed his name, used an old alias from his early field days, Marcus Green, transferred into a new precinct under a federal corruption task force. No one there knew who he really was, not even the good cops. He shaved his beard, adjusted his walk, and kept his voice quieter. To them, he was just another recruit, another black guy trying to climb the ladder. What he saw next, it wasn't just bad behavior. It was systemic decay. Cops running phantom stops, pulling over black teens without cause and fabricating charges just to hit quotas. Evidence lockers missing key items conveniently lost when certain names were involved. A secret list of nuisance addresses, where patrols were told to be extra aggressive, every one of them in minority neighborhoods. And then he found something darker. In the basement archives of the precinct, in a forgotten filing cabinet, Tyrell uncovered body cam footage that was never supposed to see daylight. Footage of a man named Julian Carter, 19 years old, handcuffed, pleading for help moments before he died in custody. The coroner's report said, overdose. But the video? It showed him being choked. By Daniels. 2 years ago, the department buried it. The DA declined to prosecute. The city paid the family in secret a settlement locked behind NDAs. Tyrell sat frozen in front of the screen, fists clenched, breathing shallow. That was the real reason Daniels laughed during arrests. The smirk, the arrogance. He knew nothing would touch him. He was protected, shielded. Until now, Tyrell downloaded everything. Files, videos, audio, memos. He had the receipts. But before he could take them public, something happened. His real name got leaked. A precinct captain, one of the men he was investigating, recognized his voice in a morning briefing. Wait, he muttered. That's the guy from the viral video. By sunset, the station was buzzing. Tyrell walked into the locker room and found his uniform slashed. His tires? Slashed. A note on his windshield read, "Get out before you disappear like Julian." They knew. And now, they wanted him gone. But Tyrell wasn't leaving. Instead, he went to the Carter family. He showed them the video. Julian's mother didn't cry. She just whispered, "I knew he didn't overdose. They lied to me." Then she looked Tyrell in the eye and said, "Whatever you do next, don't stop." That night, Tyrell went live again. He dropped the footage, the files, the cover-ups, everything. Within hours, it blew up. 50 million views. News stations swarmed the department. Civil rights attorneys demanded a federal investigation. The mayor, forced to speak. Daniels, arrested. No more smirks. No more sneers. Just orange jumpsuits and trembling hands. The precinct captain, resigned. Internal Affairs, dismantled. The chief, placed under federal review. And Julian Carter, his name echoed across the country. No longer a buried footnote. No longer silenced. But the story didn't end there. Because the FBI launched a full investigation into dozens of departments tied to the same corruption ring. Tyrell, he was offered promotion, but he declined. Instead, he requested a new assignment. He wanted to train young black agents, build a new generation of eyes inside the system, not just to investigate, but to protect, because what he learned was simple. Sometimes the most dangerous thing about the system is that it's designed to protect itself. But if you know how it works, if you get inside, you can break it from the inside out. Lesson note, justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it starts with silence and a man who refuses to stay quiet. Tyrell didn't just prove them wrong. He changed the game. So the next time someone tries to write you off, remember, the underdog only stays underestimated until the moment he bites back. And when he does, they never see it coming. If this story hit you hard, share it, like it, comment below, because voices like Tyrell's need to be louder than the silence.